So this is the Twins Daily No Juice podcast video version of our nice little program.
Yeah.
You get to see our faces, right?
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel awkward or weird in any sort of way,
Not at all.
shape, or
I
form.
frequently have multiple cameras on me and bright lights, and
Yeah.
it's totally normal.
Your makeup job is the
Yeah,
Looks
the
great.
lady in the room did a good job.
right. So what we wanted to do here is to give you a little bit of the Twins Daily forum stuff and talk about the topics that are entrenched within that.
Yeah.
So-
the hot takes on the
These are
on
the
Twins side.
hashtag hot topics.
Gotcha.
Hot Topics. That's a store in the mall that I used to shop at all the time. Got my earrings. And,
Used to.
Yeah, well, sometimes I gotta get my goth pants going.
Mm-hmm.
So, reader Darren617 asks, this is the topic,
Okay.
Ron Washington or Ron Gardenhire, which Ron do you want? And he says, I would like to see Ron Gardenhire being shown the door and bring in a new manager. Texas has had many injuries and could not get anything going with so many high-priced starters out of the season. The best thing that could happen in the future of Minnesota is to completely start fresh from the top all the way down, replace Terry Ryan, Ron Gardenhire, and Rick Anderson to get started rebuilding the franchise.
That's
How's that take?
It's a hot take. I've heard that a lot with people that I've talked to about the Twins. Like, it's not just I kind of get the eye roll when you're like, well, do you think Molitor will make a good manager? They're like, you got to get out. You got to start over. Start from scratch, because it's just going to be, in 3 years they don't want to have the same conversation that Terry Ryan's got his guy, coaching, and he won't get rid of him. I get that a lot when I just talk to my friends, and I don't know. If Terry Ryan's in charge of who the manager is next year, I think we've talked about this on the podcast. If Terry Ryan is in charge of it, it's going to be Ron Gardenhire, unless he says I'm
Feet
out.
to the fire. Who does Dan Anderson want to manage next year?
I don't know. I don't think I want Molitor, and I don't think I want Gardenhire. I don't really have a hot take this week with Ron Washington. I mean, I don't know what happened in the last 2 days with him, but
The GM did come out and say it wasn't drug related.
Okay.
He did have the cocaine pass.
right. That frankly,
This was off field family stuff, is what they said. And
Okay.
they really haven't released too much on that.
got it. And okay, Ron Washington, is that even an option? If he's hopefully everything's okay. You hope the guy's not.
He was awesome in Moneyball, by the way.
Yeah.
incredibly hard.
It was incredibly hard. The one good line. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of am of the belief that maybe it's time to just start this thing over with and hire a new GM and have him bring in his guy. I don't know where to go, but
No, this isn't my take, but I think, in terms of the landscape of the Twins, we've talked about this before. Ron Gardenhire has another year.
yeah,
I don't see him leaving.
yeah,
I don't see Terry Ryan firing him.
right.
And I think that'll come down to it. If the poll ads say you got to fire Ron, then Terry is probably going to step down and say, well, we're a package deal.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of thing. And same thing with Rick Anderson. I don't see Ron Gardenhire saying, you fire Rick Anderson, I'm going to stay around. I could see him leaving on his own and retiring.
These losses got to be adding up.
So, yeah, I mean, that might be the mojo thing. But I think what we both have said is that it'd be nice to see something fresh out of the organization. Some new blood.
And the reason people are upset is that we're working on 4 years of 90+ losses, and nobody else other than Tom Kelly, nobody else in the history of baseball has kept their job for that long. And
Connie Mack. Don't say history without knowing history. Okay.
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's rare for someone to lose 90 games 4 years in a row and keep their job. And I think the reason people want it to be top down, start over, is you got to get rid of that mindset that this is okay. Like, no, everything's fine. Head in the sand. Like, no, Ron's doing a good job. And is he doing a good job? Is he doing a bad job? He doesn't have any talent on the team right now.
If you look at the team, there's not a whole lot a manager could do to push this from a 70 win to an 81. I don't think there's any manager out there that's going to win you 11 games just on clubhouse. Yay, let's all have a fun dress up day on the road trip.
Right. Look how loose he keeps it.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it's hard to gauge exactly what a manager contributes.
Right.
But I think overall fan base, if you're going to do a email survey, I think more of them want to see a fresh start with everything.
Right.
Speaking of email surveys, right?
They had an interesting week with that.
I know another a TV guy. We're both TV guys now, I guess. So we're kind of in the same industry.
Yep.
Keith Overman took
I do the same thing as Keith
task.
Olbermann now.
We'll see him at the happy hour that we all have for TV people.
The TV happy hour.
So the survey that the Twins sent out last week tried to get a gauge on the season ticket holders, and I think also the group season ticket buyers.
Yeah.
So I got it as the Twins Daily when we did the pub crawl. We did a 40, 100 tickets, and they sent us that email survey, and it was
Gotcha.
the first reaction, and the biggest question that came out of it that everybody's seen is the car question, right? Where it said, what kind of car would the Twins brand be? And it was great to good cars is what Keith Orman put out.
It would be like if I walked into if I came up, do you think I most look like Brad Pitt or George Clooney? Like, you look like a foot. Like, the only options were really good things.
Heather, how's the sex at home? Is it really great or super awesome?
Right.
Which one was it last night?
Pick one.
Yeah.
There was no write-in vote. You couldn't.
No.
You couldn't pick your own for humor's sake.
So obviously Overman pointed that out because it is absurd.
Right.
And then the Twins president Dave St. Peter responded in kind of a brash way, I'd say, of saying, "Hey, we got it.
Right.
We know marketing. This is completely what marketing people do."
Right. But the thing that bugged me about it is I've seen this quote from him in a few different places. He keeps calling it the on-field product as though that's different from other parts of the product.
And you don't think it is?
I think it was when Target Field opened. Now it is, your product is your team, and the team is not good. Like, Target Field in 2010 could absorb a bad team. That place would have sold out for a year with a bad team.
Sold out for 2 years, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
And now people aren't going to Target Field to go to Target Field anymore. It's not like Wrigley where you get people going there every day to.
Woo!
Right. It's not. I'm not willing to go down there and spend $8 on beer and $12 on a burger and $20 to park for the product that they're putting out there right now. When they try to separate that's what that kind of a question is. It's like, well, yeah, but we know the on-field product isn't great, but what about all the other stuff? Like, here, shiny object over here. That's kind of what that felt like. And if they would worry more about the on-field product, everything else takes care of itself. And I sent this to you in a text. If they're taking care of everything else and the on-field product still sucks, that's not going to lift. That's not going to lift people's perception of the brand.
And my point too, last week I tweeted this out, was that Oakland Coliseum is one of the biggest shit boxes in all of sports.
Right.
And they're winning, and
Right.
they got a great fan base that show up that kind of are almost soccer fanish with their cheers and their they get to hang signs. Also.
Right, and they dress
I can't
up.
see Target Field allowing any of that.
Right.
Right.
It's a little too corporate.
But between me and Clarence Swamptown, we said, hey, let's turn the overhang into the big party section, huh?
Right.
Let all the jagoffs do whatever they want out
Right.
there.
Take away the seats. Make it a standing room only party.
And I think that's, hey, Twins marketing department, go ahead and write those ideas down.
Get a DJ.
DJ it up. Yeah. Turn
Get
it
out
into
little envelopes of
Make
every Pop and Molly.
Make it a party bus that doesn't move.
Right.
I think that would be the way to go about it.
It would be the MTC sponsored party bus that doesn't move, and it would be a little bit too corporate. And
Yeah, they'd have a name for it. You're right.
there's nothing organic about Target Field. Like at the Metrodome, there was the guy who had the Frankie Sweet Music Viola sign that he painted on a sheet that he brought for every year he was there, and then he brought it to when they put him in the Twins Hall of Fame. Like that was organic. You can't bring signs to Target Field anymore. It's really nice. It's awesome. It's way better than the Metrodome, but the fanhood isn't organic. There's no everything feels very planned out.
Well, you'd cover up a piece of advertising with that.
Right.
And the Metrodome, so they had that in the mid-'90s, and at some point in the late '90s, early 2000s, they put the electronic sign ring around the second deck.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't put signs up anymore.
Right.
So.
And, let's not be... It's not like advertising at baseball is anything new. Every time you see a stadium shot in the 1920s, there's old cigarettes that you've never heard of before.
Hit the bowl, get a steak.
Right, a steak. Like, people have been advertising at stadiums for as long as there have been stadiums. But it felt like, at least at the Metrodome, at some point there was some organic... Like, fans would go there and you could be a smartass and have a funny sign. Now you can't.
But I think that's just any sport in general. I bet if you go to any of the new stadiums, there is that element to it.
Right.
And that's just the way it's going to be.
Right. You get your stadium, you kind of lose a little bit of your soul.
So that's some off-field stuff. And to your point, I think the operations side of baseball is not talking to the marketing side of the Twins.
Right.
There's no like, hey, are you going to get a good player so we can market him out? It's
right.
more of a, well, we got Perkins signed. Why don't you advertise him a little
right.
bit, put him on the tickets.
Right. I get it. You got to market. Here's what you got to sell. You got to sell tickets. You got to sell advertising, but it feels like the again they're trying to separate what they're putting on the field from what they're selling. Like that, they're acting like that's a part of it. What part of it they think it is up in the air. I think it's now that Target Field is the shine is worn off. I think the on-field product is 95% of what they're selling.
And to Oberman's point, it was like, look, you're not going to get the right response or any correct response out of just having the list of things that you had there.
Right.
You need to get the whole thing if you really want feedback from fans.
Yeah, like that should be a blank question. What kind of car brand do you think we are right now? Mm-hmm. Here's an essay box. Go ahead.
Yeah.
There you go. And then have 20 interns sit and wonder if they want to actually give you the results. You sure you want to know about this?
I'm going to have to go back to St. Cloud State now, aren't I?
I'm pretty young, but I don't know what an Edsel is, but people keep saying that. You guys are an Edsel.
So back to the on-field product, as Dave St. Peter likes to call it. Mm-hmm. A question from Paul Plessy. I think I'm saying that right, Paul Plessy. This is involving Tom Bernansky, and he says, It seems like the team is hitting above reasonable expectations. Young players are coming up and finding success. Danny Santana, Kenneth Vargas, Eduardo Escobar, and the veteran players are joining the team and figuring out how to hit. Fold, Suzuki, Schaefer, even Aaron Hicks, who struggled early, seems to be hitting pretty well in the second coming here. What he's wondering is how much should we credit to Tom Bernansky for helping that out?
I wish I were a professional baseball player for a lot of reasons. I have no idea how much a professional hitting coach helps from AAA to the majors. I don't know what. Is there something he's just waiting to tell guys when they get there? Like,
well, here's the thing. You should
watch this. I'm going to tell them the thing.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they hit
the secret to hitting. Yeah.
I don't know. He's doing a better job than Vavra was, I guess.
Well, yeah.
That's where you'd like to sit down with Bernard, and nobody's going to give away trade secrets. But what are you doing with guys? What do you?
Well, he gave away some trade secrets to me.
Oh.
So his first, last year.
Lead-in.
Last year, I've had access, hashtag access.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said to me when I was asking him just in general what he does as a hitting coach is that, he makes it more about the feel of the player, so it's what they're feeling rather than saying, hey, this is how you should look while you're doing this. Just get in there, we'll try to change some things for the drills, and then you just keep doing this, and then you can bring it onto the field after you got that feeling down, during batting practice.
Right.
So we talked about Oswaldo Arcia this week, or I wrote about him at Twins Daily, and that he's one of those guys that has so much talent. Man, he can hit a ball really far, bueno, muy bueno. And he just has a few things that needs to overcome. Flies open when he swings, has a big leg kick, and there's some things that the Twins and Tom Bernansky are just trying to get him to corral. And I think he's pretty good at doing that.
The two things that that I've noticed, and I only noticed because it's stuff you write about,
so you're an echo.
Right. Vargas with the leg lift. But I mean, that's something that you can see he's changed. Like the leg lift. And then Arcia is doing more of a leg lift now?
Yeah, from what his minor league days were. Double A, yeah.
So, people always say that the Twins ruined Ortiz or tried to get him to go the other way or whatever. But and that it's cookie cutter. They're trying to turn everyone into slap hitters. I think the way they're treating Arcia and the way they're treating Vargas is, it's not.
Yeah. They're trying to make it a complete hitter rather than like with Arcia, who's very pull happy. Well, you leave the outer half of the plate completely exposed,
right?
And the other teams will dismantle you that way, and they have. So they're just trying to fix the flaws,
right? And
hopefully make him a better hitter overall.
Has there been any movement toward perhaps having him be a platoon, having him be the lefty?
No, they don't platoon. They won't platoon. That's the thing. They'd want everybody to do an everyday thing. Even Jace Cool didn't platoon. Right. If you had two spare parts, they might make a platoon, like a Leas and a Paleorulo.
Yeah.
But you're not. The Twins will not go out and take
actively.
One of the guy. Well, he's a very top prospect. They won't turn him into a platoon player, right?
Right.
Just like you don't want to take Miguel Sano, take him to a third baseman, and make him a DH before his time.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas Kenneth Vargas, he's kind of a DH right now.
Yeah, he's a DH. Is he a decent first baseman?
If it's hit at him, right?
He's not rangy. He's not toolsy.
Got it.
Right here, coach.
Yeah. Just ooh, that way. That went that way. That's Dozier's.
No dive.
That was Dozier. no dive. No dive. This one, it might not be. If you were Seth Stoves, you'd be much better at answering this question.
Yes.
But we'll just kind of talk about this in the broad sense. Doc Bauer asks, who is your surprise Twins minor leaguer? And since you know only two, Buxton and Sano, maybe we'll skip that. But so he lists the Baseball America ranked the top 10 prospects coming into the season. Just rattling them off. Number 1 was Buxton, Sano, Alex Meyer, Cole Stewart, Jose Barrios, Eddie Rosario, Thorpe. Can't remember his first name now. Trevor May, Danny Santana, and Jorge Polanco. Any of these guys surprise you? Any of them not surprise you?
Barrios is a surprise just how young he is.
And how quickly he's moved, too.
Yeah, he's moving up. I mean, he's got a decent chance of being up here next year at 22, 21, 22.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be him. I know 3.
Okay. 3 of them.
There you go.
Yeah. So he surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, just because of how well he's done and how rapidly they're moving him. If you're 20, he's a guy the Twins usually would just stay at A.
Just, throw your 4 pitches.
Then, thing, and then we'll move you up next year.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear 20-year-old, you're like, okay, well, they're still 4 years away.
A lot of time for your arm to break.
He sounds like he's 9 months away.
Mm-hmm. So,
anybody surprise you on that list?
On that list, well, Rosario was the guy that was going to be out for the 50 games.
Right.
And, he hasn't hit very well, and that's more or less what you expect out of somebody who, misses all camp and, has to take some time to get used to it.
Could he be around the team during those 50 games, or is he out? Is he gone?
He was gone for most of the 50. I think he was in for camp for a while where there was some, he could do winter ball. So he got to do some of the winter ball in the Dominican. I know, Danny Santana is obviously number 9. And you look at him for his season, and
he's going to be the leadoff hitter next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's outperforming what he should. There were some things that he did that they point out where he went to a no movement swing.
Okay,
right when you watch him,
Guzman.
Yeah, it's just and strong enough to hit the gaps and run.
Yep.
Obviously he's fast.
He's fast.
What now we can this is a next topic is just what do you do with him next year? This has been the he's a shortstop. Mm-hmm. You saw the Dominican Academy before. That's where he, where he came from. But they put him in center because we got no center fielders.
Right. It feels like they don't want to necessarily put him at short. Because right now would be the time to do it, and he was still playing center, Thursday night, Friday night? Too. Yeah. I mean, within the last, with Hicks up here, he was playing shortstop. So it feels like they don't necessarily want him to be the shortstop. What do you think on that? I mean, somebody has to play shortstop.
That definitely could be. I mean, there's a lot of he's made a lot of errors with his arm. He's got a very strong arm.
Right.
Got a lot of good range.
Right.
But I think either he's in that where he shouldn't throw the ball, and then he thinks that he has such a good arm that he's going to try to rifle it over anyways.
Okay.
He kind of makes little mistakes like that or off balance throws. So I'd like to see him long term develop at shortstop.
Right. I feel like they're
versus just a stopgap in center until Buxton gets
right. I feel like they're letting good be the enemy of perfect. Is that a cliche? Like
I'm going to write that. Hang on.
He might be a good shortstop, and they're
the enemy.
They're keeping him up because he's not going to be Cal Ripken in his prime at shortstop or whatever. I mean, he's not going to be he's not going to win a Gold Glove at short. Doesn't mean he can't stick at short for a couple years.
Right.
Like seems like he'd be a good shortstop.
And as Patrick Royce pointed out to me on Twitter that he could be a stopgap until Nick Gordon shows up, which is
it's 3 years.
Yeah, it's
4 years.
I don't think that's a stopgap.
Right.
That's a window that you've got a shortstop. So I mean, either you're going into next season with Eduardo Escobar or perhaps another solution. And then using Danny Santana at center until Buxton's there, then you got to move him where? And so the message to me seems like, are you using him do you like him as a long-term option?
Right. It just feels like they don't.
As anything. Right.
Yeah, they kind of want him to be what they convinced themselves Jason Bartlett could be, like super utility, although he can actually do all of that.
He's young enough.
He's young enough, and he actually can play center. Mm-hmm. But again, this week it was still more of he's just not. He's good, he's fast, he's rangy, but he's just not...
Yeah, he had a throw to the plate where I think Hicks nails the guy.
Right. He's just not... He doesn't do the things that someone who's been at that position for 15 years knows how to do. He's the raw talent is there, but the little refined, efficient things that somebody who is a really good center fielder, Like, I feel like guys like... even the leagues we play in, the guys that are really good, they know these little tricks and stuff like that. They're like, man, I can't do that.
Little tricks. The hidden ball one.
Right.
That gets everybody. Right? You can't do the first to third pickoff anymore. So
Falling out the hard way.
I don't know what other tricks you can use.
But like
The frozen ball trick, right, from Major League 3?
I refuse to watch it.
Holy shit.
I'm not watching that.
That was in Minnesota.
2 was terrible.
Yeah.
And then they said 3 was worse. So I was like, out.
What else are you doing? What else were you doing in college that you couldn't watch Major League 3 when it was on TBS?
I literally don't remember.
All right, that's okay. So this one's from Bad Smurf. The headline for his question is, Malone is terrible. And his statement is, how in the world did this guy pitch so well in Oakland? I expected him to be more mediocre than good, but never expected him to be this bad. He looks like the next Dunsing.
Okay.
Let's parse this question out a little bit more.
There's a lot going on there.
So, first of all, I think people should have known, if you maybe were in stats, is that he was kind of outperforming where he should have in Oakland. You've got a much better defense and a cavernous outfield, and that's how you have a good offense too. So you win some games and have a low ERA. That's a product of that.
Okay, how in the world did the guy pitch so well in Oakland? There you go.
There you go. That's how that kind of happens. But beyond that too, he also came out after his last start and said, "I have shoulder problems," and who knows if that's the old Rodney Dangerfield. Oh, my arm!
It's broken.
And so maybe that's part of it. You got a bad arm.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't. But
And
Dunsing,
his ceiling was a 4th or 5th starter anyway.
yeah, right. So I don't know what you're expecting.
Got a lot of those guys. You've seen it for the last 3 or 4 years.
But Dunsing's actually been all right. So
Right. That was, at the end, I'm like,
well.
So do we put him in the bullpen and?
I think he just battles it out until you figure out what he's going to do next year. I mean, he could be. Dunsing's up for arbitration. Could be gone. This is probably his last.
Yeah, I want to know what he meant by looks like the next Dunsing.
Yeah.
Like in what way? Dunsing's been fine.
Throws with the same hand, I think, is what he was trying to get at. Just like Dunsing. Right there. Right there. That's how you do that. All right. So, one other question we had. Positives and negatives of the season. What do you got?
I think the positives are...
What do you take away?
The negatives are... They're long ass season, and they're going to lose another 95 games. The positives are Vargas, Dozier, and Arcia are going to be in the starting rotation, in the starting lineup.
Flamethrower lineup.
Danny Santana, flamethrower
lineup.
They're going to be in the lineup. Hughes is good to quite good, and
strong to quite strong.
So your rotation, you got one piece of the rotation figured out. Everything else.
You only need one person, if you recall Nick Nelson's piece. You only need one person.
Yeah, I reread both of those pieces. Everybody's replaceable on a 90-loss team, but he's right. You would go in with that same. This is what you have for next year. They're not going to do a ton in free agency unless they find a pitcher they like or something. That'd be the place to target. The negatives are Nolasco wasn't that good. Pelfrey
didn't play.
He's on the hook for next year too.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to take away from this season is so many times I've just said, "What are you doing?" And most of the time was whoever happened to be playing center field that day. Like, what the hell are you doing? That's how this year felt.
A lot of infielders in the outfield.
Yeah. This was never a thing. Like, they never tried to put Guzman in center, did they? Like, this was a weird thing that just kept happening. And
Puckett played shortstop once.
That was a bit, though. That was like in one game, like, Puck, go play shortstop, whatever. It wasn't their nightly strategy.
Sure.
This year is the year where I was like, what is going on down there? Like, I'm not saying anyone's tanking, but it just doesn't seem like you're trying to put the best lineup out there.
I'll say negative, too, was Josmil Pinto, where we're seeing him in September. He's just ripping doubles after double, and he's obviously a very good hitter.
Right.
But to keep him out of the lineup just because he can't catch, and then you go outside Kendrys Morales.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I mean, that was...
It's weird. It's, again, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What's going on?
Like, in 2011... The feeling was, man, everybody's getting hurt. Mauer's gone. This is going horribly wrong. Like, Nishioka's not any good. Like, that's how that was. It was just people being bad. This year,
hurt and bad. Yeah.
Everybody was hurt or just kind of the wheels fell off. This is from the manager to the general manager. Like, what is going on? What is happening? I think that's the general
I
feeling.
think it started with the Jason Bartlett letting everyone go, and that obviously. So a positive too would be the Sam Fold situation.
Yeah.
So that parlayed into us getting Sam Fold, who we traded for Tommy Malone, who is terrible apparently, and it's the next Dunsing.
The next Dunsing.
But
that was
that's a good move, right?
Yeah, and I don't think everything they've done is negative, but the Hughes signing is brilliant. I just read, maybe you retweeted it, that somebody offered Hughes a 1-year, $10 million deal in the offseason, and he turned it down.
That was the Angels, yes.
And if that was the case, he's in line for a lot of money after this season. If this is, if he's on a 1-year contract, so he kind of has missed that gamble.
Yeah,
so
bad on him,
right? But obviously the Twins got, they did a good job with that signing. But to balance it out, the Nolasco signing just doesn't look like it's working out.
And I think long term next year, Nolasco is going to be better.
Yeah, I feel like
we've said Sealing is fourth on a good team, fourth starter at best, and that's not bad. That's not bad. If you have Barrios and everybody else,
and if he was hurt as long as he said he was hurt, according to all the storylines that came out, that when he went on the DL, he was hurt in spring training.
Yes,
right, and didn't say anything until July.
So that's on him,
right? So hopefully he's healthier, and when he's healthy, he's decent.
Yeah,
which they need to get. They need decent pitching.
So you get a decent pitching. Stringer Bell, another Twins Daily community member.
He died in season 3.
Yeah, just go watch The Wire. Just absorb that if you haven't seen that. You should do that. His question, his headline for his question was "Patience paid off for Kyle Gibson." What the question basically is that when Gibson last year, all the fans had wanted to see him sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I think we were all clamoring for something different at that point. You just wanted to see something. So they waited till mid-season, gave him 10 starts, shut him down last year. Now this year we've had more people that wanted to see Alex Meyer in May. Are the Twins handling those guys right? Gibson obviously had a decent year this year.
Yeah.
Do we want to see the same with Meyer and May? Is that kind of what we're seeing right now?
Probably, and both seasons with Gibson and Meyer and May, they didn't leave 15 wins on the table by not bringing these guys up. We're not a playoff team if those guys are on the team in April. That's not the issue. The issue is hopefully in 2 or 3 years we brought them along. They're confident. They're a 2-3-4 kind of starter, and the middle of your rotation is set with guys that'll have an ERA in the 3s and low 4s, and nobody cares about wins, but win 15 games. That's where I don't really care about how they bring them up. If they think they're fine, if they're fine doing this with the slow playing it, great. But damn it, they better be good in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's about it for the video segment of our show, I think, today. We're trying something out, and I think I had an all right time. Did you have an okay time?
This was weird. As long as I ignore the cameras.
This was weird, but it didn't turn into a snuff film.
Nope.
So I think I feel like that's a win for us.
Yeah, that was a basement level goal.
Yes.
Don't kill each other.
But thanks for joining us.
Thank you.